Hey friends, Andy here from the YouTube channel, your friend Andy, with another episode of the podcast. And today on the podcast, I have Kolin, otherwise known as the Decade Investor. And I think this will be a great episode for those of you who are in your 20s still and maybe haven't quite started your financial journey, or are just kind of like thinking about starting it, or maybe even part of the way into it. You're somewhere on your financial journey in your 20s. This is the guy you want to talk to. So, without further ado, hello, Kolin.
Andy, good to see you. Glad to be. I think I'm the most viewed on your podcast.
Oh, really?
I've been on like I'm just most amount of times. I think I've been on your podcast I think this is the third or fourth time.
This is at least the third, maybe the fourth time. That's true. Yes.
So I might have a lot of accomplishments in life and maybe already and in the future, but this is by far my greatest life accomplishment. Being on the Your Friend Andy podcast.
Hey, Mom and Dad, guess what? I made it on the podcast again. He let me on the podcast.
Every time I go home, I get a thing on the wall, and it says, been on the podcast, once, and then second. I might have no more space in my room, but it's all right. It's worth it.
I like it. We'll get you a new room just for plaques that say you were on the podcast.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll take 50% of the ad revenue from this.
Okay, we will discuss this off camera.
Yeah.
So, Kolin, how old are you now?
25.
And what is your net worth?
It's around 330,000.
And roughly this time last year, what was it?
It was probably 2 something, low 2s. I actually put out a tweet this morning, and ironically, and it took me 7 years to get my first $100,000 invested, and then it took about 14 months. You can maybe pop up the tweet. Editor, pop the tweet up here.
Greg, if you're watching this part, which you probably are.
So I might get the numbers wrong a little bit, but it was like maybe 14 months later, I hit 200,000, and then maybe 12 or 13 months after that, I hit 300,000, and that was a couple months ago. So I'm in the $300,000 to $400,000 journey to the next 100,000. And I tweeted and I laid that timeline out, and I said the first 100,000 is the hardest, and as you probably know too, it is the hardest. Mm-hmm. The first, obviously, the million's the hardest. The first 10 million's the hardest. But the first 100,000 to me is like the greatest accomplishment as an investor, because it's like kind of that time when you start to see your money the compounding start to grow a little bit more and more. But it took me a long time to get 100,000, and then it's been progressively less and less time to get the next 100,000. Each step of the way.
And I think the last time, what's the Warren Buffett quote about the first, or is it Charlie Munger?
Yeah.
About 100,000, what is it?
He says the first 100,000 is a bitch, but you got to get there,
yeah,
or something like that, And then it's like keep your foot on the gas, do everything you have to get your first 100,000, and then you can kind of let off the gas. I think he made that quote in like 1812. He's an older guy, but he made that quote a long time ago.
The 300-year-old Charlie Munger,
yeah, right.
200-year-old Charlie Munger.
But so he made it a long time ago. So maybe you can inflation or whatever, you can make that number like probably your first 200,000, work really hard to get there, but still, compounding numbers are numbers. So first 100,000 is the hardest, but I like to say it gets progressively easier and easier every 100,000, past that.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that. But first, a quick word from this episode's sponsor. If you are like me, then you are either a small business owner or you would like to start your own small business one day. And when you do that, you're going to need a banking solution that's truly built just for your business. That means no fees, no minimum balances, and no bookkeeping problems when tax season rolls around. Because why would you want to make tax season even less fun? That's where Relay comes in. Relay is an online banking and money management platform that's a perfect fit for small businesses, and one I recommend. Again, Relay has no account fees, no overdraft fees, and no minimum balances, which means you get to keep more in your pocket. One of my favorite features is that you can get up to 20 individual accounts, including 2 savings accounts, to organize and allocate income for things like day-to-day expenses, investments, or taxes. You can now earn up to 3% APY on savings with Relay savings accounts. You can create virtual and physical debit cards for you and your employees in seconds. And best of all, Relay makes your bookkeeping speedy and meticulous by giving you ultra-detailed transaction data and directly syncing it back to QuickBooks Online and Xero. And so many other amazing features I don't have time to tell you about here. Really, they do a lot. It only takes 10 minutes to apply for a free Relay account, and you can do it online at relayfi.com/yourfriendandy. Again, that is relayfi.com/yourfriendandy. Okay, let's jump into this episode. And we're back. So I'm talking with Kolin right now about his net worth milestones. And not the last time, you've been on the podcast multiple times. The first time I had you on the podcast, I think the title of that podcast was something like Meet the... Wait, how old are you now again?
25.
You're 25 now. So, yeah, last time I had you on, you're 24. I think it said, meet the 24-year-old who is worth $200,000 or something like that. So just like a year later, you stack another hundo.
That's right.
So what does the trajectory look like? Have you mapped it out? When do you hit the 1 million mark?
I haven't really mapped it out. I mapped it out when I'm 60, or I think it's 50. Again, this is a tweet. I tweet a lot. Mm-hmm. I got to get the ad revenue, from Twitter.
Yes.
They're paying now. But I tweet a lot, but I think it was 50 if I keep at my same contribution amount every month and the market returns 10%. So that was a little bit aggressive because I wanted to see hey, maybe.
Oh, you got some definite hate in the replies
I know,
on that one.
I did. 10%. They're like, oh, that's not ever happening. Whatever. Average 10 to 11% a year since the 1970s. So anyways, we assume that, right? It's like 15 million if I just keep the same contribution amount. Obviously, I'm going to continue to invest that at least and probably more, hopefully, as my income grows. But if I don't touch anything, I think it grows to like 3 or 4 million when I'm 50, which is, still a good amount of money for a lot of people on this earth.
A lot of people never get to the 1 million mark.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm in a really good spot. And so I ran the numbers. I don't know when I will hit a million because, as as a content creator and being self-employed, your income could be really good one month and then next month it's like nothing or next to nothing. Yeah. So it's hard time mapping it because it's not like every 2 weeks I get a paycheck. But I'm really smart with it. So my goal is to get there as soon as possible. Before 30 is the goal. But if the market continues the way it is and my contributions stay the way it is, I could get there probably before 30.
Well, 25 now, 5 more years until you're 30. You're already covering $100,000 in the past year. I think you got this one on lock. I mean, we'll see.
I hope.
If I was a betting man, I would put money on that wager for sure.
If Bitcoin hits 1 million, then I'm a million. That's all it takes, right?
Come on.
That's right.
Get that.
I think I just got to hit like 750 and then I'm in a good spot. Okay. No, 600, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because you're more than a full coiner.
Yeah,
so,
I'm a full coiner.
Yeah, so you just need like $500,000 Bitcoin and you're there with your total net worth.
That's right. And you can see up here, everyone watching, that, which, by the way, I was going to ask you. So this is, a few digits here and there, but does this go away when it hits triple digits? Or
I don't know. The creator of that said it supports 6-digit Bitcoin, but he hasn't shown how it does yet. So apparently one day I'll be very surprised to see how that changes.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it's called the block clock. Be careful how you say that. Pretty sure it's called.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, block clock mini, and it's an e-ink display. It's got 7 digits of e-ink on there, and it changes every 10 minutes and updates the price of Bitcoin. It's connected to my Wi-Fi, but yeah, supposedly at 100,000, But either way, we won't care about that. We'll just be celebrating, Kolin.
So now, because I know you believe this, when it hits 7 figures.
I'm sure it'll be like 1.25 or something M.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure you can indefinitely. That's if that's
8 figure. No,
if that happens, when that happens, if or when that happens, and I still hold a lot of Bitcoin at 7 figures, I'll buy whatever the next one of those is, however much it costs.
The block clock. Mega. Not mini at that point.
Yeah, you gotta be real careful about saying that one. So, theoretically, if you continue your contributions, you'll be worth 15 million when you're age 50. What is that 15 million going to look like? Have you thought about like what you want your, portfolio to look like at that stage?
Yeah. So right now, most of my portfolio, I would say over a third is just in the S&P 500. Boring.
What specific S&P 500 stock or ETF?
VOO. Which, by the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should. But if you don't, that is forever on me because I got it tattooed.
Kolin has on his leg a tattoo of the ticker symbol VOO.
Yeah. Which funny side tangent of a story. It's a podcast, right? We can talk about whatever.
Whatever you want.
There's a place in Kansas City that's called I think it's pronounced VOO Lounge, VOO, but it's VOO Lounge. And we went there and I was like, hey, server, I said, do you guys offer a discount? Because it's tattooed on my leg, and they didn't, but they should have, you know.
Was the VOO Lounge, was it cool?
It was cool. It was like an old part of like downtown Kansas City.
Yeah.
It's like an old retro building that they've kind of made into a bar. It's cool. It was cool.
So is this going to be your normal spot now? Is this your...
No, they wouldn't give me a discount, so, you know, bad marketing.
And that, kids, is how you become a millionaire. You're frugal. They don't give you a discount, you don't go back.
I'm going to the Yelp. But I think most of it's going to be made up of S&P. Mm-hmm. I would assume, because how I have my portfolio set up is every single, which actually reminds me, sorry, I didn't buy my VOO this morning.
Oh.
So I got to do that before the market closes.
Let me turn all these off real quick.
Consistent contributions, that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
But probably most of it will be just S&P, ETFs, and then my Bitcoin hopefully will continue to grow, maybe even make up a large portion of that if it grows at a good number, and then some options in there as well. So I would say most of it will probably be made up of S&P, boring ETFs, and some not so boring but conservative Bitcoin in the crypto space.
I want to get into the crypto stuff. I want to get into the options and talk about like income streams and stuff. But first, I'll spend a little bit more time here. I think a lot of people, I'm a fan, even though 60% of my net worth is crypto and my S&P 500 exposure, even though it's basically one of the only things I invest in when it comes to stocks, is small compared to everything else. I'm a big believer in it, but I think most people get lost in 8% a year. If you're looking back and you lifetime at 10%, but account for inflation, whatever, 8 to 10% a year, and it's just not very exciting. But, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this, as you get more and more wealth, that becomes more and more exciting for a variety of reasons, but maybe you can talk about why you kind of made that decision.
So I'm not a big risk taker with my money. I sit in the idea that it's true. We all work hard for our money. We work hard for the income we make. And so I want to do what I can to grow it at a good rate while also protecting it as well. So I want to, take on risk because you have to take risks to get reward, but don't take on so much risk that I'm, not potentially losing everything, right? So I'm trying to be smart with my risk level to my reward level so I can grow it the fastest I can while also being smart and not, putting it all into a random coin or a random stock, a penny stock, and then losing it all, right? And then starting back from scratch. I think that a lot of people, they see that of like, oh, I can quadruple my money on this one crazy, crypto coin or this one crazy, penny stock, and then they lose it all and then they got to start again. And then they try it again and they maybe make win or one or two and then they're at $8,000 portfolio and then they lose it all again, right? Me, I'd rather just have a large principal value, like in this case I have over $100,000 just in VOO, where it's growing it's boring 8%, makes me $8,000 a year. Obviously not, grows by $8,000 a year in year one, in year two, and obviously it's an average, it's not consistent, but let that do over time, and I'm going to end up outperforming these people that take on this crazy risk and probably end up losing most of it. And so for me, it's like, how can I maximize my return potential while minimizing my risk? And to me, having a lot of my money in the boring 8% a year, year over year doesn't look that great if you're just looking at a 1 year time frame. But if you look at it at a 10-year time frame compounded, a 20-year time frame compounded, a 30-year, that's where the fun happens.
Yep.
And with investing, a lot of people, people in general are short-term minded anyways. So it's hard to conceptualize past 5 or 10 years from now. But if you can get to that point and you let that money compound, that's where the fun happens on the back half. But you just got to get through the first part that's where a lot of people quit.
I feel like everyone, it's a lot of short-term thinking versus needing to be long-term thinkers. But a lot of people go, okay, I've got $500, $1,000. How can I turn this into as much as possible? And virtually no one focuses on just making more money. They want the quick, easy, attractive, see it on YouTube or see it on Twitter, whatever. But if you have $1,000, you put it all into one single crypto or something, and you do happen to be lucky and you chose the right one. And let's say it goes up 200%, 500%. You turned 1,000 to 5,000. congratulations. Now, if you just concentrate on making more money and just piling money and doing most of it in a lower risk thing and then doing some high risk stuff on the side, but low risk, and let's say you get to $100,000, in VOO or some other S&P 500, I'm a VTI, total market guy. Whatever you pick, that goes up 8 or 10%. You make $8,000 to $10,000 in that same year without even thinking about it, and you took on none of that extreme risk as the others. So yeah, the more money you have, the smaller percentage you need to make these big moves, and then pile in some little, riskier stuff here. So maybe talk about that a bit. What are your asymmetric bets? What are your like multipliers? What are the things that if they went to zero, Colin is more or less unaffected, but could make you even wealthier in the future, but you're still being safe.
Yeah, I mean, number one is Bitcoin, which I
Yeah.
know, like, on the scale of risk is not the riskiest, like a random coin that just came about, whatever. But
Some would say it's the riskiest thing in the
yeah,
planet. It's rat poison.
I think I know who said that. Yeah. Did his buddy also say something about get to $100,000? Anyways,
Yep.
like Bitcoin for me is definitely that. One of my asymmetric bets. I'm also a fan of Bitcoin mining companies in the stock market.
Mhm.
So I have I load the bag on some of those as well to kind of try to gain exposure to that because I think they're related. I mean, they are related to the price of Bitcoin. So I got a lot of my asymmetric bets focused on the Bitcoin specific realm, and that's kind of my big asymmetric bet. And the way I look at it is the money I have in Bitcoin specifically. If it goes to zero, of course, like you're not happy. No one likes to lose their money, but I don't think it will. A and B, if it did, I'm still in a really good spot in other places, right? And to that point you made a minute ago, where let's say someone has a $10,000 portfolio and they're like going super, super high risk trading because they're trying to grow their money faster. And I'm just focused on making $100,000 getting $100,000 invested in boring VOO. And let's say I get 10% there. That person would have to get 100% return. They'd have to turn their 10,000 into 20,000. Obviously that takes on a lot of risk to get a $10,000 gain. Mm-hmm. I can put it in boring VOO, do nothing and be up. I mean, I'm up 20% this year in VOO. Obviously, there's been some pullbacks, whatever, but like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not risking high risk. I'm just putting in the S&P and I'm beating that person, and potentially in terms of returns by just having more money accumulated. So that point, and then Bitcoin is my asymmetric bet.
I like that. And for those who don't know, let me really quickly explain what an asymmetric bet is. Actually, I sent an email on this topic recently because I'm such a big fan of making asymmetric bets. But essentially, it's just finding something that you can invest into. It doesn't have to actually be like a stock or crypto. It could be yourself or a business, but it's something you invest into. You make a bet that has basically unlimited upside, but extraordinarily minimal downside. And so, let's say someone does like just boring, low cost index fund investing. That's what they're all about. But they want that little extra multiplier. So maybe it's 99% of their portfolio is VOO, and then 1% or 5% or 10%, some small percentage of their entire portfolio is Bitcoin or putting their money into their own business or some other individual stock that they really believe in, something they have high conviction about. Now, let's say let's say Bitcoin, it won't, but let's say it goes to zero. Well, then let's say their $100,000 portfolio, they have $1,000 less now. They have 99,000 left over. So they lost 1%, no big deal. They'll make up for it next year probably. But now, let's say Bitcoin does another, 10x from here or 50x or whatever in the next 20 years, well, then that Bitcoin position might make up like 20 to 30% of their portfolio. And then they can sell some and rebalance and put more into their boring stuff and still keep that 1% position. So it's an incredibly powerful tool if you execute it right. And I think aside from Bitcoin, you're doing that in a bunch of different places. So let's dig into some of that. You are obviously an entrepreneur. You're doing all this online stuff. So talk to me a little bit about like your decision into deciding, I don't want to work for somebody anymore. I want to do my own thing. Why, Colin?
So I got out of college and I started selling wine in Houston, Texas. Shout out Houston.
H-Town?
H-Town, that's right. I started selling wine in Houston, Texas.
Shout out humidity?
Yeah, shout out humidity. And well, it's pretty humid here where we are locationally.
Not as bad as Houston.
Oh, is it worse?
Oh, it's like twice as bad in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not shout out Houston right now. Okay. So I went down there. I started selling wine, and I did that for a year during COVID, and it was fun. But I knew that I had to just was like, I don't think I should be selling wine. I think I can do greater things than just sell wine. And morally too, like I'm not a big drinker, and like morally, I was like, I'm profiting off people like drinking themselves. Not like I'm not saying you can't drink. I'm not saying that, but a lot of these people, you'd see them come every single week buying like a bunch of alcohol. And you're probably like, they're probably drinking themselves and it's not good for their body. So it was like morally also kind of like a battle. And so I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like I don't want to live in Houston. It's hot. Nothing against Houston. But it was really hot coming from the Midwest. And then, selling wine. So then I went back to Kansas City and I was working in healthcare, the tech side of healthcare. And that for 6 months. And they were like, this is a true story. They were like, hey, you need to travel like every week. And I worked with hospitals and they were like, you need to work an overnight shift to teach the doctors and nurses how to use this software. I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, you got to work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., like Monday through Friday to this hospital to do this. And I like my sleep, right? So I was like, I'm not doing this. And throughout that whole entire time, I've been building up online presence and online income and things that were outpacing and more than my income at Cerner.
And at that stage, how many followers did you have on YouTube and Twitter? Do you remember?
I don't know. No, not maybe. I don't know. I don't even have a guess. Not 100,000 on Twitter. So, but
when I first talked to you on Twitter, I feel like it was 2021. And you had about 10,000, like January or February when we reached out to each other.
I want to say like 30,000, but I could be way off on Twitter. And then YouTube, I don't even know, maybe 15,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers, give or take.
So a bit of a leap.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like the income was greater than my job at Cerner, but I didn't realize I was 23 at the time. Yeah, 23 or 22. I don't even know. Time flies when you're having fun. 22, 23 years old. So I didn't really understand I had a good grasp on taxes and I knew how that stuff worked, but I didn't realize everything that went into running a business or let me rephrase that, just doing your own thing kind of thing. So anyways, took the leap and I was like, I can't do this 9 to 5 thing forever. Nothing against it. It provided me a good consistent stream of income, but I realized and I understood I personally felt like I had more to do than just teach doctors and nurses overnight how to do a software that I was I didn't care about. There's no passion there. I woke up every day. I was like, this is just stupid. Nothing against that company. It was just for me, my own thing. I was like, this is dumb. I was like, I feel like I can do so much cooler things and help people on a greater scale. So all that culmination of everything, left my job, at 9 to 5 in June of 21. So it's been over 2 years now. And every day woke up and been like, all right, how are we gonna survive today? And started some businesses and ventures and whatnot. And it's been really well, and it's treated me well, and can't complain. And so far, so good. Living one day at a time. You can't. I mean, as you probably know, as an entrepreneur, you can't really be like, oh, 1 year from now or 5 years from now, I'll be here. It's more how I see it is I'm just gonna do the same thing over and over again that I know that's working each day. And try new things here and there. Like you said, take asymmetric bets and risks in certain places. And just in 5 years, who knows where I could be? Because if you told me 3 years ago I'd be here, making the money I'm making, doing what I'm doing, I would probably laugh in your face. So I can't even, assume what's going to happen in the next 3 years because how far I've came the last 3.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly with individual people, there might be something wrong with selling wine or whatever. There's certain people who will be very excited about that, passionate about that. Same with software for medical or whatever. I've done lots of jobs that I would describe the same way. It's I just don't care. I want to do something cooler and better. Doesn't mean that those are actually bad. It's just everyone's got a different fit. And if you're in a place where it's just a job to you and you don't find that excitement or whatever, then why are you giving 90% of your waking hours of your life to something that you just don't care about or you're not really excited about? And that is the fun thing about entrepreneurship is you wake up and you go, oh shit, I gotta, nothing quite brings you go to a 9 to 5 job and people tell you what to do and you sit at your desk and you do your thing or from home or whatever you're doing these days. And it's all dictated for you, and you can just kind of, if you get into this like a trance state, you can just kind of keep going forward, and you don't need that much motivation.
Right.
But entrepreneurship, you have to like nothing quite lights a fire under your butt like being an entrepreneur, because you wake up and you're like, it is literally all on me to make this work or to make it all fail and go whoops. So like, what about that prospect is exciting to you?
I don't even know. That's a good question. It's just like I'm a competitive person, and I see a lot of like people that create content and like do kind of what I'm doing, and I'm like see how like well they're doing and or like what they're doing that's working for them. So to me, it's like a competitive aspect of like, I know, not that like I think I'm better than that person, but I think I can do it better, right? Like there's the distinction between like I don't think I'm better than them. I think I can do what they're doing better. So like it's a competitive aspect of like, how can I do what they're doing but do it better? And like, you know, whatever aspect of that business we're talking about. And so for me, I think it's just the competitiveness of like, hey, I want to, you know, do this and do what I do really, really good. So I'm always trying to get better. So every day I wake up, I'm like, how can I do this better? Like we were talking about before we started the podcast about like the whole UPS stuff, right? And I'm like seeing this stuff going. I'm like, I can capitalize on this. So how can I do this but make it better? So like I run through my whole like content creation mind of like, okay, what would stick with people, you know, and stuff like that. And how can I do this better? So it's always just been like the competitive nature of me to want to do that. And when I left my 9 to 5, I didn't see that every other Friday I got the X amount of dollars deposited in my account, whether I worked hard or didn't, right? It lit the fire into me to be like, all right, let's make this happen. And, you know, not like put yourself up against the wall and like, you know, back against the wall kind of thing, but more just like be competitive and do what it takes to feed your family, right? Family being me, but like feed it, you know, make sure I can go eat via 313 if I want to.
Yeah. Shout out to via 313.
Not sponsored. Hey, but if you are watching.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone out there who wants to make $170,000 per year. Be a UPS driver.
Well, don't say that too much, and your comments are going to be, well, it's 100,000, but the benefits and it doesn't. I mean, those people probably aren't
benefits are money. You got to pay from one way or the other.
Those people probably aren't making $100,000 a year, and they're just pissed. Yeah. So they're gonna find a way to get mad at you.
Hey, those guys, UPS, those
hard work.
Those men and women, they work super hard, especially in Texas. Like, they don't have AC in those trucks.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the new deal.
Oh, okay.
They have to have AC, but they drive with their doors open. So I mean, it's like, you know, it's like having a freezer open. It's like, well, there's ice there, but it's melted.
Blast that thing.
Yeah.
I bet it still feels good even with the doors open.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be just like an oven in that thing. Yeah. It's a dark brown truck.
Like a toaster.
Yeah, with a big glass windshield, greenhouse. Oh my God, Texas. Yeah. You have to pay me at least $170 to do that. Yeah. I wonder, I'd be willing to bet that is a pretty common trait amongst entrepreneurial people. I'm definitely competitive. When I started on YouTube, I definitely watch other videos and go, I can do that. I can do that better. Or, you know, not that I'm like, those are my enemies. Also, those people are my friends now. It's like, it's just, you see it and you get excited and you go, I can do that. And how can I do it better? And like, I want to, you know, can I grow faster than this person? But then they grow faster than you and you congratulate them, but then you grow a little bit faster. And it's just, I think it's all about the chase. And the end goal isn't just you know, I'm going to concentrate only on Twitter. I'm going to try to get more followers than you. I'm going to rub it in your face. It's like, well, one, that's not going to happen. You're much better at Twitter than I am. But two, like, it's just the fun of that chase. And then if I were to do it, you'd go, you're killing it, Andy, way to go. And then you'd probably even go, okay, now I need to work even harder. And it's just this nice little cycle and how that works. And that's fun. Now, if you are the negative side of that, maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you. But if you're able to do it in like a healthy way, I think it's a very exciting prospect. And the other point you said that I really like is with entrepreneurship, it is you wake up and kind of how much money you make is up to how hard you're going to work and stuff. 9 to 5 job. Some days take it easy, other days don't. Entrepreneurship, work extra hard, do extra things, make more money. Take certain days off, make less money.
But it's also like, you kind of get to the point too on entrepreneurship, like in kind of what we're doing in the online business realm, is sometimes it's weird because like you don't have to work that hard. And like when you get to, I don't know how, like, it's not like when you get to a certain level. It's not like oh, you reach this level. When you reach
my dog just knocked the table a little bit.
Like, it's not like, oh, you reach 100,000 followers or 50,000 followers and like immediately it's like money is, you know, infinite. It's never gets, I mean, it gets a little bit easier, but it's always work. Like on YouTube, you always got to be posting content, right? But it's kind of like, for example, yesterday I jumped on the flight down here, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to make a little bit of money on my flight. Obviously, there's no internet, but I'm gonna try to make some money, right? So I put out a tweet for my options course, and throw a big sale on it, and I tweeted out, and I landed, and I made like $300. Obviously, I didn't do anything, but like, so I think there's like, yeah, you work hard, but to get, you work hard, you make more money, but also you kind of get to the point where maybe if you work like for the last 3 years, I've been working hard building this brand and building the social media following and building all that stuff. I can kind of like find some tweaks and jump on a flight and basically pay for my flight while I'm on my flight so, it's like that you work hard too, but also you can kind of get systemized as well.
And I think there is both sides of that. I totally agree with that. It's like you work really hard and you get to certain places and you kind of hit a certain level of threshold, and then you can pull certain levers, or other days you don't pull those levers, but if you take a couple days off, you don't, like, your income doesn't go to zero, or you can't immediately hop on your phone and make some more money or whatever. But then like 3 weeks from that point, you're like, okay, now I want to take this to the next stage. How can I build a new thing? And then maybe you like work crazy hard and you build a new small business within your entire brand or whatever, or some new product or some new social media following or whatever. That's going to take a lot of work, where it's like no reward for a while, but once you get to that point, that's kind of the finish line of getting something built. Well, then maybe you can take it a little bit easy and then kind of nurture that or whatever. So yeah, there's certainly levels to it all, which is really interesting. So what, maybe you don't have to give me like numbers or anything like that, but give me some like broad strokes. What are your different income streams as Colin the entrepreneur these days?
Yeah. So I have an OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, and if you haven't subscribed to Colin's OnlyFans, it is quite nice.
Yeah, that's right. Great toes.
Great toes. It's feet. It's Colin's feet only. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not my feet, but act like it's mine.
Hello.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So, anyways, check my link tree. No, I was kidding. So one is Twitter. So, like, Twitter itself now is paying creators, which I got paid. I tweeted this when it got paid. So I got paid $584, but we don't know. Everyone's kind of unclear if it's like for the month or if it was for the last like 4 months. If it's for the month, just a tweet like $500, I'll take it. If it's for the last like 5 months, obviously it's $500 more I didn't have, but it's like not as good as it seems,
Even if you had to pay $100 a month, I think you would still be tweeting Colin.
Yeah, I would, because there's money to be made off like through the platform. So like you link people to your courses or your newsletter, which then kind of converts to sponsors, etc. So like Twitter, and then I have like my newsletter where I have paid sponsorships. Which if you want to, whoever's watching this, if you want to pay me to sponsor, let Andy know, and he'll be my middleman. You can take a cut.
I have a finder's fee. Yes.
Yeah, finder's fee. 80%.
Yeah. I'm very generous. I'll give you 20.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So like my newsletter, and then I have a YouTube channel. I'm getting back into YouTube. So so it does pay me still. That's kind of the cool thing about YouTube is I haven't posted really for the last few months, and I still make like $300 or $400 a month from it, which is kind of cool to do nothing, but it took a lot of work to get there. Hard work. And then I have Sleep Money Club, which we teach and we talk about, and it's a community of people where we talk about passive income in the crypto space and options related as well, stock options and a lot of other things, mining and nodes and live streams.
That's funny. Sleep Money Club is also one of my income sources. Yeah.
Should I sue you for stealing my name? That Andy and I both are partners in.
Yes.
So there's an income there. And then I also have like a social media marketing contract I have with this startup for like an investing app. So I help them and they pay me a little bit of a retainer to help them and give them some expertise. And then really, like, as you know, as an entrepreneur, it's just kind of like, if opportunities come your way and the money's right, you'll do it. So it's hard to explain to people, like my family and friends. Oh, what do you do? I'm like, well, so I just say social media. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, you're an Instagram influencer. And I'm like, no, like not that kind of.
You do have a decent sized Instagram following.
But so, I mean, a lot of streams.
And also on there is just investment income, but then also in there is stock options income, which has grown a lot. And then I think what's interesting is Twitter, YouTube, newsletter. You make money directly from the newsletter when people pay for the premium version, and for that. You make money directly from YouTube through ads. Now you're actually making money directly from Twitter through ad share. But each of those you monetize externally as well. So maybe walk through that. Affiliates, sponsorship, like what all do you do?
Yeah, affiliates are big. As you know, and you talked about many times, like when your YouTube channel was a T, 100 or 1,000 subscribers before you were monetized, you were monetizing via affiliates. So, and this is the thing about affiliates that people don't sometimes get confused. Like, oh, you're, it's costing me to sign up for your link. No, like companies will literally pay you. And, we're both in the finance space or, crypto finance, money space. Companies will pay influencers or people with large followings to talk about, they don't even pay them to talk about them, but you can sign up to be an affiliate. For example, M1 Finance. I love M1 Finance. I use it. Anyone can do this. They just have a thing on their website when you're in your account, refer a friend and you get paid. I think it's like $10 right now. But at one point it was like $50, which was after they deposited 100. So it was really easy for sale because hey, you guys deposit $100, you're gonna get 50. You're getting 50% return on your money immediately.
And a lot of times those refer a friend things that everybody has access to and could be using to monetize something. It's a win-win. Yeah. The person who signs up gets money, and you, the person who's sharing the link, get money.
And it's not like for the M1 example, and this is for a lot of these affiliates. I can't speak for all, obviously, but for a lot of them, it's no different if you just went to m1.com and create an account. You're just finding it through someone, me, you, next person. And you're just M1's literally paying to get you as a customer. That's all it is. It's no different if you just went to, it's not like you're spending more money to get this affiliate link. It's anything. They're paying you because they want you as a customer. And so make a lot of money or decent money off affiliates each month.
I read a statistic that Wells Fargo, I think this was as of 2020 or 2021, was spending on average $680 per new customer to acquire them. So they just budget for that. That's them making commercials. That's them doing advertisements online. That's them doing, paper mailers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very easy for them to go, well, I'll pay this creator $200. Well, Wells Fargo does not do that with creators, but other banks do.
Yeah.
I'll pay this creator $100 per sign up if, they share this link and then people sign up with it. And then they're like, wow, we just saved $500. We gave this creator $100. Maybe we even gave the person that signed up a bonus too, a $50 or $100. And we just saved $400 because we didn't do our entire client acquisition cost.
There was last year, beginning of 2021, there was M1 Finance, which I used, was paying $50 per every sign up you got. And they gave the affiliate, the person who was doing, like me, example, $50. And then they gave that person $50 after they deposited $100. So I was making $500 a week. And it was just deposited into my M1 account. And I would just invest it. And so it can be really lucrative if you're actually are talking about that product in a good way. You're not just lying to get the affiliates, right? You're actually using it. And it's a good payout. You don't have to say the numbers, but I remember you telling me how much these banks would pay you for people creating accounts. And it's just banks you're talking about because, they're good banks. And it's just hey, use this bank for your business or whatever. It's a good bank. And if you want to sign up, you get whatever free, $100 free. And like you said, the banks they're actually, it sounds like a lot to acquire a customer, but in the finance space, they spend a lot of money. Yeah. Like you said, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. It's called CAC, customer acquisition cost. They're spending a lot of money to get it. So if they can spend $200 and save $400, they're winning, you're winning, and that person's winning. It's a win-win-win for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. When I was a much smaller YouTuber, not that I'm all that big now, but when I was, 5,000 subscribers and stuff, I was making thousands, many, many thousands of dollars per month, recommending stuff that I liked personally and was using these banks and various accounts and stuff like that. Not just in sponsorships of the channel, but also in those affiliates. And I didn't even have that much traffic to my YouTube channel. So, if you're someone who's listening to this and you've always thought about YouTube or Twitter or social media or whatever, it's kind of a grind and it's kind of unrewarding for a little while when you start to build. But if you can't actually successfully build something, it can be very lucrative, even with not that many followers or subscribers or whatever, just depending on what niche you choose and how much of an expert you are on it. And if you're very savvy about treating it like a business.
Yeah, I wish that, there's no like content creator school, right? I mean, like in college or anything like that in high school. I mean, maybe there's like courses and stuff, but like there's no like how to be a content creator, how to monetize your following, like that you learn in school. So yeah, I can only speak for myself, but maybe you had the similar experience. Like when you started creating content, you didn't really like, I didn't really know that you could monetize via affiliate links like right at the beginning, right? I didn't know how to monetize, period. I didn't know like funnels. I didn't know anything like that. Uh, when I was in college, I had a podcast. It was not money related. It was like a motivational mindset podcast, and it has like 700,000 downloads. And it's a couple years I did it, and like I mean that's 700,000. Obviously, some of them repeat, but let's just say it's 500,000 people listened. I mean, I if I knew all this stuff then as I know now, I mean, imagine if I could just make $1 per listen, right? Like somehow, like average it out, I'd be sitting pretty, right? Way in better spot. But I didn't know because there's no like class, course, or anything like that. So hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're creating content, learn because it's a good skill to have, and it can be something you do on the side, right? Like I mean, mine started out on the side. Maybe yours started out on the side too. Just create YouTube videos over what you like to talk about. Obviously, not everything's gonna have a huge audience, but even I mean, I see creators with a couple thousand followers or 10,000 followers on Twitter or YouTube subscribers making boatloads of money because it's just very niche and people like what they talk about and they're willing to pay for it.
Yep. And, I did the 9 to 5 job thing. You did it. And I was able to build my previous small business where I, kind of left that 9 to 5 world on the side. And then it was making as much or more than that job. So I was able to leave and do that. And then started this whole thing. And then this got so big that I was able to quit myself. I fired myself from my own business and retire that entire business. And now I do this full time. So that's another kind of asymmetric bet, low risk, high reward way to do it is don't just drop your existing thing. Just start building on the side. Maybe you spend a couple less days per week drinking with your friends and doing stupid stuff, and you spend a couple of those days like working on something. And yeah, you're going to give up a little bit of that fun, but the fun you get in the long run from like having extra freedom and way more money and be able to travel or do whatever it is you want to do seems like a good trade-off to me. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I know quite a few people that are, in their 40s and 50s that see what I'm doing and they say like they wish that they would have taken that chance when they were my age to like try something or start that business or whatever. Obviously, there's not guarantees it would work out for them, but like they wish they would have just tried. I think a lot of people just go through life like the 9 to 5 thing and it's comfortable, right? It's like, oh, every 2 weeks I get X amount of money in my account. I don't really have to work that hard. I just have to work hard enough to not be the worst person, but not too hard where I'm like they're asking me to do more. And then, Thursday comes around, oh, happy hour. Friday comes around, oh, let's go out. And, I see a lot of people my age, Saturday comes around, let's go out. Sunday, I'm hungover all day. The only way to beat a hangover is to drink more. So they drink and then they roll around Monday and it's just like a constant cycle. And then you wake up one day and you're 35 or 40 and you're like, shoot, I've just done the same thing over and over again for the last 15 years. And I got a family and kids maybe. And now I can't take these risks because I got a family to feed. And then you're just kind of stuck. Not really. I mean, you can obviously make it out, but it's a lot harder, I should say. It's more difficult to do it at that point than in your early 20s when you don't have much writing on it, potentially.
There are lots of 9 to 5 jobs that are very fulfilling that people really enjoy, but there is lots of people out there who 9 to 5 jobs really is just like comfort money, where it's like, I don't want to challenge the status quo. I don't want to rock the boat. I do my work every day. I get this paycheck, and then I can, go home and watch Netflix all day, and I don't think about it. And they just kind of go through life like that. And then, you get the car, and you're paying the $700 to $1,000 a month car payment. You get the house. You buy the boat. You got a family or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, I couldn't escape this if I wanted to. That is one of the things why I like talking to you. And I really think that if anybody's listening to this who is in their 20s, it's like one of those times where you still have so much freedom to like try stuff out and figure things out. And you don't have to do what, the world tells you is, I was kind of hook, line and sinker on like, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, and keep your head down and just do that whole thing. And again, fine for some people, just not in my DNA to do that. And I just wish I had, realized it a bit sooner and, gotten away from that. So, my question to you then is, you just talked a little bit about like what you wish you had done with social media and stuff, or with podcasts, wish I had monetized that. What are some other things that before doing this whole entrepreneurial journey, and maybe even before doing this whole investing journey, you wish you had known sooner, or if you could go back, that you would do differently?
I mean, in the investing specifically, when I started investing at 17, I tried the whole penny stock thing, and luckily it was only $400. But when you're 17, $400 is a lot of money, and so I lost.
That's an Xbox.
Yeah, right. It's an Xbox, or like 1 year of Xbox Live or whatever,
It's
so
a big commitment.
That's right. So I lost most of that, and like obviously it sucked, but it was probably the greatest investing lesson, and I'm glad it was only 400, not 40 or 400,000 dollars. So that was definitely something that I wish I would have known to just start what I'm doing now, like in terms of my investing strategy. I was 17, because I'd probably be maybe in a slightly better position, maybe not, who knows, but I think I would have been. So that would probably be number one, like wish I would have maybe done differently. But outside of that, I really don't like have any things I wish I would have done differently. Not the whole cliche, like, life happens how it's supposed to, but I went to college, I played college football, Division I, like that was my dream as a kid. So I got to accomplish that. I probably, I guess if I could have changed anything, I would have changed my degree, probably to do like computer, like software engineering or something. That's what my brother does, and it's a very good, lucrative career. And I probably would have done that, and just maybe at school, like while I was there playing football, did that, and learned that in 4 years versus trying to do it myself now. Not that I am, but like if I were to, I think that would probably be something I would change, because I know a few software engineers that they pay a lot of money to do that stuff, and it's pretty, like, once you know it, and it's really easy. So that's probably the only thing I would change. But outside of that, I don't like the trajectory of my life has been pretty good. I mean, it's not like I don't think I would change anything.
So if you could go back, you would still go to college?
Only because I played football. If I wasn't playing a sport, I don't think I would have with the college. Like if I could go back and know what I know now, I probably wouldn't have. I would have just started a business, maybe even I just went to like a trade school or something, and just like learned something that's blue collar, that's pays really well. Like I have a friend that he owns a mobile locksmithing business, and he makes 6 figures, like multiple 6 figures a year doing that. That's pretty good, right? So maybe I would have learned something like that, and not, like most people go to college and they get $80,000 in debt for an art degree, and then they're making $26 an hour at Hobby Lobby or something, right? Nothing against that. So let's be open on Sundays, Hobby Lobby. Come on.
I mean, do you think at age 18 or even 17, I guess whenever you graduate high school, around that time, 17 to 19, do you think you're sufficiently prepared to make the decision on to do college or to not do college, and to what you should study, what you should not study?
No. I think there's a select few people that could, but I think for the vast majority of people, well, let me step back. I think most people go the college route because that's what everyone else did, right? Yep. And you have parents that pressure their kids to go to college because that's what everyone else does, right? And I'm not a parent, but I would assume as a parent, it's a lot easier when you're hanging out with other parents. When you're like, they're like, oh, Sally and Tom and Joe, they all got into whatever school. You're probably the odd one out if you're like, oh, my son or daughter like is skipping college and is, whatever they're doing, right? You kind of feel like odd out. So as a parent, you probably maybe outwardly or inwardly hope you kind of not force, but direct your kid to go to college, because that's what everyone else does.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, if I look back when I was 17, 18, I don't think I was again, I have a clouded view because I was going for sports, so it's a little bit different for most people compared to me. But I don't think you're in the right mind to like, oh, if I don't go to college, I'm gonna go open a business or try. I don't know if you have the right like maturity potentially to make that decision. And if all your friends are going to college, you're probably gonna go to college, right? Because they're gonna go and whatever. So I don't know. I don't think you. Yeah, they probably are.
Some people certainly do have the maturity to figure it all out. Other people don't. But I wish more people felt the freedom to not have to make that decision right then and there, and could have a little bit of like thinking, can I explore a bit? Can I figure things out? Can I decide what it is I actually like before I, completely commit? Especially if you're paying for it all and you can't pay for it, so you do, student loans and stuff, because that debt is just crazy. So let's talk about the investing side, though. You know, Obviously, in my opinion, you've done an incredible job being at your age where you are with the net worth you have. Well done, Colin.
Thank you.
But you can always do it better. So, for people listening who are not as far along on their journey, maybe they're 20 years old or something, and they're like, "Ooh, I like this idea of being 25 and being worth 300 something thousand dollars or more, being a millionaire by the time I'm 30. That sounds great. How do I do that? What could you have done better in your own investing journey?"
I I don't know. I mean, because like started young. Obviously, I spent a few years trying the whole penny stock
Mhm.
stuff. So
What age were you when you did your first trial of investing?
17.
17. Okay.
17 is whenever I opened up a custodian account because I wasn't 18
It's
yet.
crazy.
And I tried the whole, like, I had a $400. I bought 4 random stocks. Didn't know what they did. One was like a penny stock. Like, it was like 0.0001 cents, like that much of a penny
Wow.
stock. Like, it was super penny stock.
Super penny.
Yeah, super penny stock. So I was at 17. So, I mean, then it took me a couple years, and then I got into like the strategy I'm doing now. So obviously everyone says they could have started earlier. Right? I could have started when I was 3, but I didn't know enough, then.
Why didn't you start as a
I
toddler,
should have.
Colin?
And
How dare you?
I was buying Build-A-Bears. I could have bought VOO. Like, of course, you could always start younger, but we can't go back in time. I don't like, I think my biggest thing was just focus on, because like when I got my first job out of school and I was making money, I still invested like a good portion of my income. So I don't know if there's anything I could have done differently to be in a better position. I could have bought the bottom if I knew. But I mean, outside of that, it's just been like I've been focused on making more money and taking as much as I can from that and investing it. So
I guess maybe a better way to phrase that is, if there's an 18 to 20-year-old listening to this right now and they're like, I don't know what my first step is. What would you say, from your own experience, that their first step should be, or their first couple of steps should be?
I would say, do not try to become the day trader. Do not try to become like, I sell options. Don't do that. Build your foundation. It's boring. It's the boring 8%. And for that first 100,000, you're not going to, compounding and that stuff, it works at $1, but you're not really going to see it until you get to that 100,000 mark, around the $100,000 mark. So I would say if you're 18 to 20, the biggest thing is just focus on your income and build the habits. I think, when you're 18 to 20, you're probably not going to be making the most amount of money you're going to make in your, working career. And you probably have, maybe negative net worth because of loans or whatever. But I would just say focus on the habitual side of things first. It's, it's not the fun, flashy, like, let's go, crazy and buying 0 days expiration options or whatever, but build the habits. And then, focus on making more money. Like we said at the beginning, we'd rather have the larger principal amount, and then we can kind of go less aggressive or less risky with our investments and still outperform other people. So as 18, 20, build the habits first. I'm a big habit guy. So like, hey, every single week or every month when I'm getting an income from whatever job you have at the time, or whenever you get a job, I'm going to set aside 20%, to emergency fund. And then once that's done, investments. And don't try to go like pick random penny stocks, because I did that and you might work, but for most people it's not going to work. Just focus on buying something that's solid foundation. Mine is VOO, yours is VTI, SPY. There's a lot of S&P or total market funds out there, but build the habits, because that's what's going to really make or break you. Because most people assume that those that have a high income are good with money, but that's not the case. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're good with money. I've talked to a guy one time that was worth $5 million and was making $500,000 a year, and he was good with his money because he was saving it, but he was so bad with investing. He's like, I have no idea like what to invest in. He was just buying random like random stuff. I'm like, man, you have $5 million. Like, you shouldn't be just you have such a large principal. Like, be smart. But anyways, so I say build the habits first, and that's the boring. Hey, don't spend more than I make. Save, invest some of that, put it into something boring, but just get that snowball started. And then, like we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, then once you have a decent size portfolio, you can take 1, 3, 5% and do your asymmetric bets, but build that foundation first. That's how I am. Now, other people might say go the other way. I'm the foundation first guy, and then I'll kind of take bets after the fact.
And a lot of this comes down to how much money you are making. As an 18-year-old, a lot of people would say it's next to impossible to make good money and to be able to invest a big chunk. I've talked about the power of if you could invest like $500 a month as like an 18 to 20-year-old, and like get a lot of replies on Twitter like that's unrealistic, whatever. I don't think it's unrealistic, but I'm curious if you were 18 to 20 years old and you wanted to invest $500 per month, like what would be the ways you would think about making that money to do that?
Yeah. I mean, number one, I think a lot of people that whether it doesn't matter if you're 18, 20, just in general, that say they can't invest $500 a month. Obviously, there's a lot of situations where you couldn't, and I understand that. But I think for a lot of people, they can invest $500 a month. They just would rather spend $500 a month on things versus invest, and there has to be sacrifice in investing anyways.
Yep.
But I would say if you're 18 to 20, finding whether like assuming they maybe have a job or they don't want to make an extra $500 that they have, find a way to either like make money online, side hustle. Maybe it's helping people. Like a big thing a lot of young guys do, and people could do this, but a lot of gals could do this too, but a lot of young guys do this, is they help coaches online, like, and they're like their closers, right? Or they're like their salespeople. I would say get into sales is a great opportunity. Or side hustle, right? Like, how can I flip things? A lot of people do like Amazon reselling or stuff like that.
I watch so many videos of like 18 to 22-year-olds who like start power washing companies, and they make like $5,000 a week.
Yeah.
It's like, if someone can do that, other people can do that.
Right. And it's one of those, it's those jobs that always need to be done, right? Like I've never done it, so I'm just making the assumption here, but I feel like as someone who I could sell it if I had to, if someone was like, hey, go sell my power washing business, like sell.
It's very satisfying to try it sometime.
Yeah. But like you could go up to anyone and like tell them that, hey, you need to like power wash your concrete driveway or whatever, like, or your house, and like give them all these reasons. Like, sales is a great avenue to do it. Or like, I don't even know, Andy, like that answer is so many. Like there's so many possibilities. You have to understand that there's a lot of possibilities, but once you understand like it's a lot of possibilities, extra $500 a month is so easy to be made.
Yeah.
It's not easy coming, because we understand it, but it is easy. You probably believe it's not.
It seems impossible at first, but it is truly easier than you think it is once you like start trying and like diving into it and they're really exploring it. But most people, they try a little bit, they meet some resistance, and then they give up. And that's why it seems like it's impossible, because you didn't actually try hard enough.
Yeah. I would argue that most people that say that it's impossible to make $500 a month have either never tried or, like you said, have tried for a month and then gave up because they didn't make any money. And then you look at everyone else that's like didn't give up, like you, I, and a lot of other people, and we're like, oh yeah, we can make $500, but it's because we didn't give up. A lot of people that say that, again, never tried or just gave up.
We live in a world where we have websites like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and they literally have free sections where people are just giving stuff away because they don't want to be bothered with selling it. They just put it by the curb. And in those sections, there is lots of actual decent stuff. So if you have a vehicle, or if you just live close enough to the person, you can walk or drive over there, grab that dresser or that couch. Couch flipping is a huge one.
Yeah.
And just do a little bit of cleaning of it, and then turn around and put it back on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and sell it for $50, $100, $500 or whatever. People make entire businesses out of that. Free inventory, almost pure profit minus the time. And that's something that's accessible to anybody. And because we live in a world where there's opportunities like that, and that's just one of many, as I don't understand the whole, I can't make extra money. I'm like, there has never been more ways in the wide world to make extra money than right now.
Yeah. I think it's weird. I think there's so many opportunities that people assume that there's no opportunities, or there's like, nothing.
It is overwhelming.
It is and it is like, we just talked about like 7 in like 30 seconds, and that's just like million. I mean, I don't know.
This is now a side hustle video.
Yeah. Like, power washing. Oh yeah. Like flipping. But I mean, seriously, there's so many ways. But I think most people just give up, and they're like, it's too hard for me, and because it's too hard for me, I'm never gonna make it happen. Like, oh, that person got lucky. I'm still figuring out social media. I'm still learning like by talking to you and other creators, like different ways to, do better, to learn. Like I'm still learning. I'm not professional. You're not professional. Well, maybe.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
This is my podcast. You just
Well,
called
when you
me
hit
a
100,000,
Okay, that's
then
true.
it's like,
Okay, I'm
you know,
amateur, but soon to
yeah.
be professional.
But like you're still learning. We're
Yeah,
always learning.
always.
Like you've paid to learn from people that are in a better position than you are, right?
Mhm.
And there's always, like, no one's professional. Maybe like Mr. Beast, but I'm sure he even learns and, tries to find ways to get better. So I think most people are just lazy. That is the answer.
I mean, it sounds kind of mean, but human beings, just the animal creature of the human, we like the flow of water, want to go where the path of least resistance. Um, if it's we're working a 9 to 5 job, most people just want to figure out what their flow is and just stick in it and don't get too crazy because they just want things to be comfortable, no confrontation and no trouble or risk or whatever. And that's how a lot of people are. And when it comes to like you have your job and then you come home and you're tired from your job, it's a lot of extra like effort to try to like make extra money,
Yeah.
and it's easier to be lazy. Or if maybe if you don't like the word lazy listening to this, maybe it's easier to just relax or
Well, if you don't like the
whatever.
word lazy, you're probably lazy.
It's easier to do the choice of like laying on the couch and watching Netflix than it is to do that other thing. So, how do you personally like rewind the clock when you're trying to do these extra things on the side? How did you like muster up that motivation? How did you get inspired to get off the couch and do the extra thing that's now turned into your full time gig?
Yeah, I think it was real. Like, there was a quote I heard once, and I can't remember it. Great quote. I can't remember it. But basically, this guy was talking about how, like, most, like, for someone to change, they have to be so uncomfortable or
Mm,
so, like, not happy where they are, they have to change. But most people are just like on the brink of, like, I'm comfortable, but I'm not that uncomfortable, so no point to change.
yeah.
To me, it was like waking up at my 9 to 5 and, like, literally just being like, I was like, I just don't like this at all. And it wasn't like I was like, I mean, they weren't going to fire me. Like, I wasn't like a bad employee, right? Like, if someone's going to pay me, I'll do what I have to do. But I was just like, I don't want to, like, I was like, if I look at myself in 20 years, I don't want to be doing this. I
Yeah.
don't. And like when I was selling wine, I like saw the avenue of like, okay, I get promoted to manager, and then I get promoted to manager of managers, and then I get promoted to the manager of the man. Like, I was like, that doesn't look like, that's not fun for me. Again, maybe for those people that are doing it, great, but for Colin, like, that was not it. And I was at my other job, it was the same thing. It was like, you become this, and then you become like, I was an associate consultant, and then you become like I don't know what the word was, like a premier associate or something, or a premier consultant, and then it was like manager, and I'm like, I'm a small fish in a large pond in this thing, unless I like go over and above and whatever, like move up to a point where it's probably worth it monetarily to be here. Why let me just try? Like, there's no risk for me to try my own thing. When
Mhm.
I get home, yeah, like I'm probably tired. Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to do it, but I also don't want to be where I am now.
Yeah.
So like, and I that potential of like, I'm always like a what if guy. Like, that's what I was doing with Twitter, like in social media. Is like, if I just post one more time, what happens? If I just post one more time after that, what happens? Maybe it's not working today, but like, if I give up, I'm never gonna win. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get to where I want to be if I give up. But if I just do one more post, if I just figure out how to, make one more YouTube video, maybe that's the one that does well. Maybe it's not, but maybe it is.
So it sounds there's lots of things to unpack there, but at the tail end of what you
Well, I brought my
just
suitcase. We can unpack it all.
good one, good dad joke. Uh, at the tail end of what you're just talking about there, it seems a little bit like you have to cultivate this kind of dreamer mentality in yourself a little bit. You have to be able to kind of like visualize and dream of a better version of your life than what it is today, and you have to have some impetus to do that. Maybe you hate your job or whatever, but I can speak for me. I would watch YouTube videos of other creators. 'Cause I always had in the back of my head, like, I want to do this YouTube thing, whatever. I tried it before and it had some success, but I want to actually put myself in front of the camera and try that whole thing. And I'd watch these YouTubers and I'd see what their life, I mean, it's their edited version of it, but still, I see what their life is like, the freedom of time they have. I'd see how much money they were making. And so that inspired me and that gave me a little bit of fuel to dream and go, okay, what if? What if I made these videos and I put myself out there and it was super embarrassing and, people made fun of me or whatever, but what if it worked? And I just was allowed myself to dream a little bit. I picture myself a year from now and I'm making $10,000 a month with my YouTube channel. Even then, it's like kind of small dreams, but
Hmm.
it's something that's, within sight. How would my life look differently and stuff? Would you agree that you've been like cultivating like inspiration in your life?
Yeah, you have to. It's like you kind of have to be crazy at first. You're like this, like you have to believe in yourself when no one else does.
Yeah.
Which is weird feeling because like you said, you kind of get maybe made fun of, and maybe not to your face, but people are saying stuff, right? And you have to be like, I'm just gonna do this, and I believe it's gonna work out, and I like obviously you have to believe in yourself, and you have to hope that it works out because there's some luck involved, but there's skill too. But you have to like just believe in the unknown and just like go to work on that side hustle, whatever it
Hmm.
is,
Yep.
and then like cultivate the belief, keep going. It gets tough, but like I said, I've always been in the camp of like if I quit this. This is when I was still doing my 9 to 5 with this on the side. With like if I stop posting, I'll never get there because it'll just never happen. But if I just do one more, post another one, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But like that belief that maybe it could is always like kept me going. It's like I don't like the casino a lot because I don't like losing money. But it's like the gambler thing. Like that's why people gamble because like that one more spin might be the one. Kind of same deal,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I always come back to I think it's Henry Ford quote of like, whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. Belief is hugely powerful. But the second point you just made about the casino, um, I don't think everybody should go out there and just outright be gambling with their time and money and their life or whatever. Maybe it worked for some people. However, I can't deny there is some elements of luck in all of
Hmm.
life and in all of this. Did I luck out to do what I'm doing now? No. Was there some luck involved with a whole bunch more hard work and dedication and just persisting when other people didn't? Yes. So, like, I'm a big believer in like kind of going out there and creating the luck for yourself. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that. But for me, it's just putting myself out there, creating the opportunities for luck to find me. Like, how do you view that? And how do you view like the putting yourself out there aspect?
I mean, it's never fun to put yourself out there, especially you and I. And we talk about a topic that is very taboo, right? Like not a lot of people talk about money, or if they talk about money, it's because they're probably bad with money, and like there's the money is that one thing that's in our everyday life, but it's like always like when people talk about it, they either get pissed, mad, upset, or happy if they're doing well with it. But like it's always that weird kind of touchy subject. And so I'm gonna use this analogy. It's an analogy, but it's like I'm on Twitter with my pants down.
Hmm.
Like I talk about my exact money. Like
OnlyFans.
yes, right. That pays the bills. Like I talk about my exact investment
Very
breakdown.
transparent.
Very transparent, and like that's not comfortable.
Hmm.
For me, it is now. It's almost like kind of weirdly too comfortable, almost where it's like, oh, like
The first time you do it's scary.
it's
Though.
very scary.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get a lot of like, I mean, I've seen this and being a pretty decent sized account on Twitter. Like when I talk about numbers, you're always gonna get not probably more than one, but you're always gonna get those random egg accounts or like they never show their face, and it's always like you only have $100,000 at 22, like you're a chump, like you just get those
Mhm.
things, which is really hard to get past when you're just starting. Like that stuff gets you. Of course it will. We're human. It
Yep.
still gets you. Like it still gets me every now and again. Like there'll be those when comments. It's just like whatever. But it is scary to put yourself out there. But you look at all the people that have done something in this world. They've put themselves out there. I'm not saying like you're stupid and you're doing things that are crazy or whatever. But like you have to you have to take a risk and put yourself out there to get to where you want to be, right?
Is that how you handle like any hate you get or any animosity or just any lack of support from maybe even people who are close to you? Looking at other examples, or how do you deal with that?
I had a couple people close to me that when I quit my 9 to 5, they had some words, and that got put a little chip on my shoulder.
Chip on the shoulder is a good thing.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, like, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah.
But I heard a quote. I think I remember this one, but it was this guy. He was talking about a podcast, and he said how he deals with hate on internet is he goes, if someone has anything to say about me, they can call me. If they don't have my phone number, they're not close enough to tell me what they think about me. And so for me, like, obviously, again, we're all humans. There's always going to be a comment that will, get me or probably gets you every now and again. There's like that one, again, it's at a stupid anonymous account, but the way they say it somehow like just grinds your gears, even though like, I've heard a lot of things said to me through these things, but how I handle 99% of them is just like, I know this person would never say this to my face. B, either I can probably guarantee that they are not in a position where I am, like financially. Not that it's about money, but like, they're making jokes about how much money I have. They probably don't have anywhere near that. They're just making themselves feel better. And 3, if they don't have my phone number, they don't have the right to say anything to me. And so you it doesn't make it easier. Like, I mean, it makes it easier, but like, again, there's always that comment will get you. But that's how I handle that stuff. Is like, it is what it is. It's always going to be hate, especially, and I know that, like, because I know that talking about money on social media is always going to grind gears to people. I know that me being 25 and having, a good net worth of investments, there's always going to be comments of like, oh, your parents gave you all your money. Like, I know there's nothing that can't be said to me that hasn't been said to me now, other than like, and I know I have a bad hairline. Like, I know I look like I'm 40, like, I get that. Like, those things don't bother me anymore because A, I just laugh at it, and B, like, okay, you can laugh at that while I'm just going to be more wealthy next year. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I handle those things.
If you're 40, you're looking real good for 40,
yeah.
Colin.
There's been a few times I've been in those comments and I want to reply, and every now and again I will, but it's just not worth it. But, I'm always I've always had these like quick snarky replies back to those people. I've done a few, and they usually get like I ratio that person with more likes because it's funny back. But, yeah, something that'll hold my tongue.
So here towards the end of this, I'd love to just do a handful of maybe kind of lightning round or just kind of hot take questions, just whatever pops into my head, and just give me a quick thought, 1 or 2 sentence thought on it. Crypto is a scam.
Some of crypto is a scam, but I think if you think all of crypto is a scam, you need to do more research and understand about it.
Bitcoin has no inherent value. It's not based on anything. It's a bad investment.
Based on nothing or has no inherent value, read about the US dollar when we got off gold standard. And there's value in it because people say there's value in it. There's value in a table on Amazon because people have value in it or people give value to it. So do research.
Doing social media or YouTube is not a real job.
Well, if it's not a real job, then the money it pays me must be fake too. Yeah, that's what I gotta say. That's it. Yeah.
And all this work I put into it must not amount to anything.
My bills I've been paying have been fake paying the bills,
I guess. What about renting is throwing away your money?
I think there's certain cases where renting is better. I don't own a home. I've always rented, and I have a pretty good net worth. And so I think there's situations where buying is better than renting, but I don't think renting is necessarily throwing away money.
Your 20s are for having fun, partying, exploring all that stuff, not to be thinking about business and money and investing. You're wasting your 20s by doing that.
Obviously have fun, enjoy, your 20s, but find balance. And everyone I've talked to that started something in their 20s that are now 30s, 40s, or 50s, and that they found success with it, never one time have I heard someone say, I shouldn't have done that in my 20s. And the inverse of that is people that didn't do anything in their 20s and they only partied and only had fun and only, focused on drinking and girls or guys, if, whatever, they have regrets that they didn't do something in their 20s.
Another one about 20s is, it's so early in your life. You can be really, really risky with your investments and stuff. It doesn't matter. You can make up for it later.
Sure, take some risk. However, one thing you can never buy back is time. And with compounding, time is the most powerful thing. So take risks with your money. Take risks with your business if you want to start one. But also set aside a little bit of a foundation and let that just compound over time. And it will be interesting to see what that turns into when you're 50 and 60.
And maybe this last one, why is time such an important and valuable resource, and why should you protect that control of it?
Because that's one of the few things that we can't buy back, and you can't go back on the clock, and you never know when your time's up on this earth. And so enjoy every minute of it, and even the hard times, enjoy it and fight through it, because the good times are coming. And it's the most valuable thing.
Time and our lives are far too short for us to be doing stuff we hate. And I think that's a great, that last thought there of yours is a good one to end on. Well, Colin, this has been fun. I really hope if you are a 20-year-old, and maybe, I'm in my 30s, late 30s, and I learn a lot from this guy. So at any age, I hope you learn something, but especially if you're in your 20s, I get some really valuable insights from Kolin, because I think he is a great model for how to do finances and life and stuff as a young adult. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you, Kolin, for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if I lose my number one spot of most times on your podcast, we're going to have some problems. But and I'll just fly down every week and we're going to keep doing it.
Just keep this up and we'll maintain.
Yeah, but thanks for having me on. Enjoy the conversation, Andy, and excited to see where we both go in the future.
I like it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you in the next one. Goodbye.